few years ago, Gathoni and I bought our very, very first car. And when it arrived, oh my goodness, we couldn't take our eyes and our hands off it. We had waited for this moment for so long. It had come out of our dreams, out of our prayers, out of our wish board, and now finally it was here physically. And we say in the flesh or in the metal, and so it fascinated us. Every time we kept looking at it, when we entered it, we were just amazed. We're like, you mean this is how it feels to have your own car? And we couldn't wait to take rides with it. And interestingly, after a while, then we began to get used to the car. And now it didn't fascinate us as much. Now it began to get slowly, by and by, it began to become another usual part of our household items. Now when we came to the car, it was no longer new and fascinating to us. We got used to the drill, and it had become part of life, and the newness of it ended. And after a while, it just became usual. It wasn't any miraculous thing. It became a usual part of life. And why I'm telling this story is because I think on the night that we got married, or on that week of our wedding, some of my friends called me aside. They'd been married before. Some had been married for a number of years. Others were newlyweds. And they began to have this conversation with me, conversation of what will you do on the night of the wedding and moving forward, the birds and the bees, and that awkward conversation you have with your friends talking about sex. And my friends told me that, Ben, I know sex will fascinate you at first. I know sex will be that thing that you guys you wouldn't believe how amazing it is. But after a while, as you get used to each other and get used into the routine of life, and life begins to happen to you, then sex will become that thing that will no longer be that important in your life. It will be like the car that you got used to after a while. And that really disturbed me because I was like, no, it can't be. I can't have waited my whole life for this. And then for me to come and you're telling me, Ben, sometimes you'll go even a month without it. And there'll be nothing wrong. It'll just be normal. It was like a month. Me and Gathoni in the same house, and I've not touched her for a month. Man, there must be something wrong with this thing. But true to it. Oh man, true to it. The first year was fascinating. But after a while, when life began to hit us and bills and realities and saving for a plot of land and all those other things begin to take a toll on us, then sex slowly began to take 6th, 7th, 8th, sometimes 100th place. And we were so busy in life that sex just disappeared out of our lives. And that's what I'm talking about today. How do you keep that fire going? How do you keep each other attracted to each other? How do you keep the flame of sex going? And I'm fascinated because the Word of God says that one of the verses I like is that it says, do not deny yourselves from each other. And even if you're taking a break, maybe to pray, let it be consensual and let it be for a few days and then get back into the wagon so that the devil doesn't get a foothold in your marriage. You know that verse? And that verse fascinated me for a very long time because it was like, so Apostle Paul was saying you guys should be having sex every day, basically. And the only time you should take a break is when you guys are praying and fasting over something. And it shouldn't be for long so that you don't give the devil a foothold or the devil can get a position to come and enter your marriage. You understand? And is it possible for a couple, married couple, to have sex frequently? Well, it depends. The frequency for couples, it depends. Some people, their frequency is thrice a week. Some people, like me, need it every day. Some people that it's once a month. Some people once a week. It just depends. But the only thing is that sex should never become that thing that you get used to, because that is the danger. The danger is when sex becomes the thing that you get used to, that now even when you're dressing in front of each other, you're just like part of the furniture. Sorry to say. And the thrill and the joy of it goes away. And very long, I used to wonder, why did God make marriage to be monogamous? That one man and one woman for the rest of your life. for some 40, 50, 60 years, making love to one person. How do you keep it interesting? How do you not keep yourself from getting bored with each other? How do you keep that thing new? How do you keep on finding the newness and the energy in it? How do you do it? How do you do it with one partner, with one person who you know everything about them? How do you do it? But then God was very interesting that the way God made man and woman is that man and woman were meant to have amazing sex for the rest of their lives together. That the variety was not in the people, but the variety was in keeping it new amongst yourselves, amongst each other. And so this video is just about that. One of the things that I have come to realize is that your sex life as a married couple cannot be left to chance, or cannot be left to mutual agreement, or cannot be left to when we get an opportunity, or cannot be left to that thing we do when we get bored. Sex is of utmost importance. And one of the things I've realized is that sex must become something that you guys do intentionally. It must be intentional work for you guys to keep that flame and fire alive in your sex life, in your marriage. Because if you do not, one of the things I know and I've come to know is that sex is a barometer of how your marriage is doing. Every time I have found myself wondering, by the way, when was the last time we had sex? Then that is a good barometer of how our marriage is doing. And every time I'm like, man, we're having our sex life is just on another level. Most of the time, that's a barometer of our marriage that is doing very, very well. Sex is a very, very important part of our marriage. In fact, I think sex is a thing that keeps our marriage alive. When there is no sex, then the marriage is dead. It is a very good indicator of how alive or how dead a marriage is. And the interesting thing is this, is that you don't have even to feel it at first. Just keep on doing it. Just keep on making time for it. Just keep on providing provisions for it. And the more that you do it, then the more it begins to put a lot of parts in your life that were dead alive. That's why these 7 days that we're having sex, today is day 2 of us having sex. These 7 days are extremely important. And I want the guys who are taking part in this challenge, I want you guys to let me know after day 7 if there's any change in your marriage. And for me, I believe that if you can just be faithful to the words that Jesus said, that for this reason, he said for this reason, and for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother. For no other reason, just for this one reason, that thing, that Lauryn Hill song, that thing, that a man shall leave his father and mother and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Not one spirit, one flesh. For this reason, for the reason of sex. For me, I believe, as Jesus said, that sex, amongst all things, is a thing that you left your mother and father to do, to go and get married. Thank you guys. Till next time, and God bless.